Hello everyone. One of the things that's really going to make your portfolio stand out are these headers up at the top, also known as banners. And if this looks challenging to you, well, let's take a little bit of a shortcut. I'm going to go to my favorite assets where I have a Photoshop file with the titles for my favorite things. As you can see here on week 11, you should have a portfolio project and there's a name for this Photoshop file. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this before I get started, and then return and open up my titles for my favorite things. We're going to make these in Photoshop, and we'll just keep that 1920 by 1080 size and just put our text in the middle of the screen, and that should work for us to use for our website as well. That's known as a web large. If you were making it from scratch, I can show you where that is. File, New, and you're going to go to the Web presets and choose the large as 1920 by 1080. But as I said, I'm going to recycle this. F7 is the keyboard shortcut to bring up layers, and I've already got my intro here. So you don't have to have any backgrounds or anything. In fact, I'm just going to use the one text that I've got my favorite things here to start with. So I've got my text, and like I said, I'm going to move this down towards the middle, and I'm actually going to need this for my favorite things page. Now you'll notice I do have a drop shadow on here. When you have this transparent background, you can barely see the shadow, but it does show up a lot stronger when it's exported on a white background like that. So I've got this shadow opacity down to 20% right now. So let me do a File, Save As. Be careful not to save this on top of the one that's very important in my favorite assets. We're going to go to our digital portfolio project and paste the name that it's supposed to be, and of course change the name at the end to your name and save it in this new project folder. So I've got my first one already ready to go. I could take this and move it out of the intro folder as well, so that I've just got my headers right here. So let's go ahead and do an export of this one. File, Export, and a quick export as a PNG so that we can keep that transparency. It's okay to have a background there, but I'm going to use the transparency for me. So this is going to be my first header. So I'm going to put header, and I'm going to start with 0 with this. Oh no, this is header number 1 for the first project, first grading period, my favorite things. So I've got my first one, and then I also need one at the very front of my website that says My Digital Portfolio. And I'm going to change it up a little bit. I don't want it to look exactly the same. Oh, what I should have done was change a copy, right? So let me undo and duplicate this. Just go down to the new item, and now I'm going to change it. My Digital Portfolio, and let's just change the colors. If everything else is looking good, then I could go down here and check that color overlay and change it to something else. Maybe a nice light color, which means my inner glow, which goes around the outside of the letters and goes in, to something dark. Maybe a dark purple, or I'm not seeing that. Why is that? Let's find out. So it's there, but I guess I have this bright stroke around it. So let me change this stroke as well. It's the black outer stroke. So let's go for this one. You'll notice I have 2 strokes on mine, and I'm going to get a nice dark purple to go with that inner glow. So there's my digital portfolio. I click OK, and now I'm ready to export this one. File, Export, quick export, and of course once I have one of those, I can select it and change it to header 0. And this will be my digital portfolio. That didn't take me long to create an entirely different Photoshop file with just those two things in it based on my original. And so I don't want you to spend a lot of time doing this. Let's just put these on our website now. So let me go here. I'm going to go to Google Sites and create a new blank one to show you how I put these headers in. So you always want to have your name in the upper left-hand corner. And for this header type here, we're not going to use this text because we're replacing it with a graphic instead. And we're going to change header type to just a title. Then I can insert an image by uploading it here. Find my digital portfolio project folder, and I'm going to go with my digital portfolio as my initial header. I can then drag it up here. You'll notice it tells me when it's centered, but it's very, very small. So let's go ahead and make it bigger. We'll stretch it this way and stretch it this way and just find a good spot. Now notice how this is cut off here. That's going to look really strange. So I am going to double click on this, and that allows me to move it up and down to kind of position it so that none of the glows or shadows or anything disappear. And now I've got a nice header at the top based on my old one, and it was not too hard to do. That header type and just make it nothing so that you insert the things you really want to. And again, see how the shadow is pretty easy to see, but it's soft and it's not doubling the letters to the point where it's hard to read. So you definitely want to make sure it's very, very legible. And again, having a background there is not a problem at all, as long as everything stays really, really easy to read.